what is your advice for parents who are dealing with overwork and burnout and high stress in this situation? What can they do to try and mitigate that as much as possible?
Well, in a lot of ways, the advice is the same as it always is, which is that a lot of the time we get, we get drawn into burnout by assuming that if we don't burn ourselves out, we'll be fired, or we'll something horrible will happen. And 9 times out of 10, that's a lot of that is a story we're telling ourselves. We're able to draw more boundaries with our work than even in normal situations than we often think we do. So when we start drawing boundaries is when we find out which ones, the organizational culture will respect and which it won't. Now, in this situation, it's even more confusing because we don't have any of those markers like our commute or the walk to the conference room for a meeting, right? And it gets much easier to burn ourselves out. And so we just have to start drawing those boundaries. And if your kids are at home, that's actually a great excuse. It's like, hey, I got to go feed my kid. I got to, my kid's school. I mean, I'm having this on conference calls already. People are sort of drawing boundaries for our work alongside their obligations and responsibilities as a parent. And people are sort of more forgiving of it now because many more people are in that situation. So in some cases, now is even a better time to draw some boundaries because your boss who has a nanny, may not have that nanny right now. Then your boss may be in a situation where they're struggling with some of this now in a way they weren't 2 months ago. So it's always the same. You got to draw your boundaries. You got to protect what's important, your energy, your ability to be there for your family, your ability to do your job. Prioritize more strictly. Take things off the to-do list. Only do the things that are important. These are it's just it's the right thing to do. And now we have to do it.
Yeah. No, it's a little trial by fire on that. That makes sense.
Yeah. And sometimes we have these stories in our head. Oh, if I'm not there at 7 a.m. I talked to a client the other day and she's like, I've been having to be on that 7:30 calls with the team from India. And she goes, but that's my best time in the morning to be creative. And I said, how many times are you on the call every day? How many of those are your presence critical? Probably once a week. Light bulb. I have 4 mornings a week I'm not taking advantage of. This was her, her outcome. Yeah. Because she'd just been following the story that she had to be there and she really didn't. So look for, be strong, be courageous with yourself to listen to some of the stories you tell yourself that lead you to burnout and just try something else.
Yeah.
Tell yourself another story.
No, it's true. It's easy to get set in those routines and not question them.